If you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a small business person, you need to be aware of the cooperative business model. It has its roots in the Midwest, in the rural portion of our country, but it expands, has a lot of relevance to different markets, urban markets, and so on. My name is Lynn Hinderrocker. This is Next Biz Success. This is going to be a fascinating interview with Mr. Jim Crandall. He's with the Nebraska Co-op Development Center. Jim, thanks for joining me on Next Biz Success.
Thank you, Lynn. It's good to be here.
Your organization, there's like 26 different cooperative development centers around the country, and you do a very unique thing. Why don't you tell us about your organization?
Well, our centers in general work primarily in rural parts of our states, helping develop new businesses or expand businesses that use the cooperative business model. That doesn't necessarily mean they're all co-ops, but it's a group of people who own a business together.
Yes.
It might be an LLC. There are some groups that are simply associations that have a common cause that they work towards. But
that's not really that's not the important thing, whether it's association or LLC. Right. And are there profits generated in all cooperatives or not necessarily?
We hope that there's profits eventually, yes, obviously.
That was the easiest part of this whole interview, Jim, by the way. All right, so tell me, how do you pull them? Do you pull them together originally and then kind of get them going, push them down the road, or what do you do?
We're oftentimes contacted by some people who've heard about us, seen us. My colleague Eileen Cranford here on campus, we speak at a lot of different meetings.
Here at the University of Nebraska in Lincoln. All right.
And so they hear about us, they contact us, they ask for some help, because that's always the first question is we have an idea for a product or service that we have that a bunch of us can do. Where do we begin? So we literally sit down with them and help facilitate that discussion on what kind of business are we talking about. So as you can imagine, if you put 5 or 10 people together in a room that maybe are all growing the same kind of crop or alternative crop or livestock, getting them to focus on one business concept or one niche market that they might approach sometimes it takes a little time.
Yeah, I mean, not only do you have to become an expert in that industry or come to understand the niche market they're serving, but you've got to facilitate this dialogue amongst all these people who all have a common passion for probably the niche product that they want to serve or sell, rather, but may have different personalities and different agendas, right?
Very much so. And one of the tenets that we base the business development on is that when they're sitting at that table as a member of the steering committee and maybe eventually as a board of directors, when they walk in the room, they kind of take their personal business hat off and put on their cooperative or LLC hat so that they're making decisions based on what's best for this business, not necessarily what's best for my own operation at home.
Now, do most of them have separate things? If they have a product that they're trying to sell inside of a cooperative structure, are they off doing other things as well, or is this their sole livelihood? This is their thing, how they feed their family?
Most of them, this is an accessory to that. It's another way to generate an income stream.
Another revenue stream.
For whether they're farm, ranch, acreage owner, whatever it might be, it's a way to generate more funds for their family.
All right. What's the average number of members, as you call them, that are in a niche-based cooperative?
It depends a lot on the type of business it is. We have some co-ops or LLCs that maybe only have 10 or 12 members in it. There are others that have 400 or 500. So it just depends on the type of business, what their market that they're trying to develop is.
All right. So they sit down, they say, hey, we think we need some leverage in the marketplace, we need some scale, we need some volume, we know you can pull us together. So you form a legal structure, be it an LLC or an association, whatever, and then what do you do?
From that standpoint, I mean, before we get to the point of forming the legal structure, we do the good business planning. We develop feasibility studies. We analyze the market. Can we access the market? Is it profitable? Can we sustain ourselves over time? And once they form that co-op or LLC or whatever it might be, we actually help them in building their membership then. Of taking that business idea, the business mission and goals, to a group of people who are interested and marketing to get that program started. From there, they have to implement the business plan that they've already created, and it's kind of off they go. So we literally do kind of hold their hands from beginning until business implementation. And then they go
down the road. Now they start to land some clients, and they start to get some business, and they're producing and they're fulfilling a demand. All right. So they come back to you, what, a year, 2 years later and say, hey, we tapped into that market. What's next? How can you help them if that occurs?
Experience is a great teacher. As they go through the development,
don't I know it?
Yes, they find out that the market they approached was a good one, or maybe it wasn't what they expected, and they found another branch off of that trail.
As is often the case.
Is often the case, that they may be able to follow. So we kind of help provide that extra set of eyes at some point in the future. Several of them have invited us back to, look at what we're doing.
Sure.
See how we're doing in your view. What else can we do?
You were around at the birth, so now you got to come back
That's
with
right.
your teenagers and say, where are you going now?
Exactly right. And in this whole process, we also have board training programs for them to help train them on being a good board member for this co-op or LLC.
That's very interesting. Whether it's in the co-op area or elsewhere, being a good board member, it requires some training. It's extra attention being made to that now.
Many of the members of the boards have not been involved in a board structure.
They don't know.
Some of it is they just don't know, but it gives them the purpose of focusing on that job.
Exactly.
As I said, they change hats when they sit at that table. They have to make decisions based on what's best for that business. So we try to educate them on what their legal responsibilities are as a board. Because as a sitting board in a corporation, they have legal responsibilities to the memberships.
They do. So they're accountable and responsible.
You bet. And besides that, then the accountability to the business. Their purpose is there to help manage and grow that business, manage the people who are managing the business, provide direction and guidance, review the financials, be that sounding board to help the business sustain itself and become more successful in the future.
Well, Jim Crandall, let me ask you this. Does a group ever go, well, I'm not really happy with this, we're not achieving our objectives, and dissolve this cooperative, or does that hardly ever happen? Are they always ultimately pretty successful?
No. And one of our successes is that we can help people identify that maybe their idea is not a good business idea. Through the feasibility studies, through the market analysis, it's just as important early on to identify this doesn't look like it's going to be what we thought it might be. So let's stop. Let's save our money.
Are there interpersonal issues that go on a lot? I know that cooperatives have a lot of there's a social component there, and they have a passion. You get a bunch of passionate people together. Sometimes there are conflicting opinions. Do you have to get into that kind of stuff or not so much?
Sure, we do. Anytime you put a group of people together that have strong beliefs, it's a powerful model for moving a business forward. It also has personalities that you have to be upfront and deal with and agree to disagree in favor of moving that business forward.
All right. Well, Jim Crandall with the Nebraska Co-op Development Center, I'm going to agree with you. The cooperative model is fascinating, and I think it has greater relevance as our culture unfolds and the world of business unfolds, because the next generation is very focused on collaboration and contribution. I think that really places a great emphasis there on the cooperative model. Thanks for joining us on Next Biz Success. My name is Lynn Hinderrocker, and this is everything you want to know about the cooperative business model. Jim Crandall knows there are resources like him all over the country. You should rethink your business model, think about the cooperative business model, and keep on going and keep on growing.